Hey everybody, Joe at Bumbling Acres here. Hope you all are doing well. And today we are cutting ribeye into sections and what all that entails and how we do it on our homestead. So enjoy. After our intro video, I'll explain more. Welcome to Bumbling Acres. We are a small homestead located in southern Indiana. We raise chickens, turkeys, geese, rabbits, and pigs. Join us while we work to foster a healthy relationship between each other, our land, and our greater community. We upload new content regularly and appreciate you being with us today. So today we're working on cutting a whole ribeye into sections. Now, this is not a difficult endeavor, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing it, because if I can do it, you can do it. It's a guarantee. Of course, in order to have a whole ribeye to cut, in order to cut a whole ribeye, you have to have a whole ribeye to cut, which we are lucky in our local community to have a good IGA, which is a local store. And about once a quarter, it does really good special pricing. We were able to get basically 2 of these whole ribeyes for $60 a piece. So, you can find good prices and, good opportunities to get meat. We try to eat a lot of meat in our house. My wife is on like a pretty carnivore-ish central diet. She's recording this video right now. And if your wife's on a pretty much carnivorous diet, you as a spouse are on a pretty much carnivorous diet. That being said, I eat pretty much whatever I want, or whatever I ask my beautiful wife to make me when I'm home. So I have no issue eating a lot of meat. So this is a wonderful thing. A little bit runnier than the last one. But this is boneless, or bone removed. It doesn't have, so it makes it much easier to deal with. But you'll see it's literally the whole ribeye. When you order a ribeye at a place, you are literally getting just a cut of this.
And from behind the camera, I'm going to have Joe demonstrate and give you a good tip I gave people in the store. Just like when picking out a whole beef brisket, when picking out any kind of whole meat like this, you want to look for one that's floppy. Can you show them, like, if you were to flop it? It should be wiggly and jiggly. It should be able to move freely. Otherwise, you are going to have a tough piece of meat with a lot of gristle and not very good. So when you go and you're looking through all these in the store and they all kind of look the same, pick one up, hold one in, and flop it around, and who cares what anybody thinks. That's how you're going to know you're going to get some tender meat.
Yep. Now I would say, as I get ready to cut this into sections, I prefer to cut it when it's technically, I don't know if you could say it's right upside down in relation to how it was on the animal. But I want to have this side facing up. You'll see the other. I don't want to flip it because I'm getting.
He wants the fat cap.
But I want it up because it's easier to kind of just cut through it in sections. You just make your own sections with it. I'm not following the other side or anything of that nature.
Do you want a guide again? Do you want a toothpick guide again?
Nah.
Okay.
There was on one of the channels we watched. There was a guide that said just use a toothpick to tell the size of the steaks.
Yeah, he broke it into about a 1-inch size piece.
No, I'll be honest. I kind of. It was a good lesson to have in terms of subjective, but you were still, I think, more important than the size of the inch. It's that when you cut, you commit to the cut, and that's true at any time you're cutting any kind of meat. So whether if I cut too big a steak slice, I'm not going to try to fix it halfway through. I'm just going to have one steak that's wider than the other. Now I'm going to err on the side of smallness. Actually, I try to keep them as an inch. And really, that's about the diameter of this knife. So if I was using a subjective, I would just do kind of as I go along.
You just don't want it thinner at one end, because then you're going to have an end that burns or overcooks faster than the other.
But for me, it's more of, you'll have plenty of time to do this on your own. All you need is a sharp knife, which we have, and to get the whole prime rib, or ribeye. So if you mess one up, it's still steak. It still tastes good. So what if it doesn't? If they wouldn't serve it at whatever your local steakhouse is, they would charge you 18 times the price of what you did for it, and it tastes good. So I'm not really a perfectionist in that regard. I'm not going to do the toothpick on this one. Especially being the first one I'm going to do is going to be a little small because I want to square it anyway. So if you get a sharp enough knife, which is what I've got, you literally cut through it. And you've got your steak. You'll see, like I said, that all important commit to your cut. As you go through it, and your steaks are right that way. Now that being said, I am not a butcher. I don't pretend to be a butcher. These are not from our own cattle, obviously, because I don't have any. But in fact, this knife could use to actually be, I actually sharpened it beforehand, but it could use to be a little sharper. You want it to cut through, not tear through. And if there are butchers who are watching this video, they will probably critique me to death and tell me I'm not doing it right. And they're probably right. But in the end, I'm not paying them to prepare this for me. So I'm more than willing to accept the fact that there might be some layman's errors. And the most important person you want to talk to while you do this is your wife. How am I doing, babe?
You're doing great.
She would honestly tell you if I wasn't. Or maybe she'll wait till the camera's turned off and tell me I'm not.
So we bought 2 of these of similar weight and size, and the last one Joe cut gave us 16 ribeye steaks, which I packaged up, for the freezer with our Food Saver freezer. And they have been absolutely delicious. We're using them, my new favorite tool since having the baby, so that I don't have to stand over a hot stove, is I cook almost everything in this air fryer. We have the Power Air Fryer XL. It's messy over there because I just cooked a little bit and haven't cleaned up. It's got the racks inside, and it does steaks beautifully. I put them on the top rack on the steak setting, which is 370 degrees. It does it for, I think, 25 minutes is the default setting, but I have found that knocking it down to about 16 minutes on that top rack gives me a nice medium rare steak. And minimal cleanup. I've got Joe now throwing bacon and sausage in there in the morning so he can get other stuff done while his breakfast cooks. And it's wonderful. I don't have to worry about hot grease splattering on the baby or having to keep the baby occupied while stuff cooks on the stove and I constantly monitor it. It's pretty much my favorite. If I wasn't married to Joe, I think I'd marry that Power Air Fryer.
I don't know how I feel that I'm not competing, but I won the competition with an air fryer.
You're a little cuter.
I do feel it's important to state that before the last time I cut up a ribeye for my wife that she's discussing with you, we got 16, 17 steaks
16.
out of it. I had never done this before in my life. So, by the way, cheat code. I'm not an expert at this. I don't pretend to be an expert at this. I'm only hoping that for those who may be thinking about doing something like this, or the carnivore diet is a big thing right now. So if you want to make it and eat the carnivore diet without, breaking every budget you have, you need to be looking for places that have specials going on where you can we got 16 ribeye steaks out of that last one.
For $4.99 a pound.
A huge expense that would have cost us a ton. So you need to be able to get meat in this form and then convert it into what you would pay a butcher for. That's what you want to do with this.
We do that with bacon, and have for I think at least a year now. We buy the whole pork belly slab at Costco. I think it's about $2.50 a pound currently, and I break it up into 4 chunks so I can fit it into those Tupperware containers up there, and I season and cure them myself for about a week in our fridge, and I'll do a video on that soon, I swear. And then I smoke them in our electric smoker and make our own bacon for a fraction of the cost and while controlling the flavoring and without any of the bad ingredients that we do not care to eat. And I was at Costco the other day. While I was there, I looked to see what the price there is of ribeye steaks, which is, of course, a better price than what you're going to get at your regular grocery store because it's Costco and you're buying in bulk. And it's $9.99 a pound for ribeyes. So we saved over $5 a pound. We otherwise, without deals like this, definitely could not afford to dine on ribeye every day, let alone to have it as a casual lunch like I do. Like I have no problem with this, throwing a ribeye steak in the air fryer and having that for lunch.
Now, you may not be comfortable, you may not have used sharp cutting knives much. I work in a profession where I deal with things that are somewhat dangerous. I'm willing to do so. That being said, you don't have to look too far into the past to see videos where I've had accidents with meat slicers. So never be cavalier when working with a knife. There are some things that, like you'll notice I'm grabbing and I'm cutting away from it, and if I'm adjusting, I adjust the hand, but I don't move it anywhere near the knife. Like that's pretty much a big secret of what you're going to do with this. You know, never put your hand down and obviously then go with the knife. That's a bad idea. So kind of see where your knife's going to go, kind of get it, and then adjust from there and make small adjustments when you're cutting with a sharp knife. The object too is have a sharp knife. I'll be honest, I'm not very happy with this knife. I sharpened it somewhat beforehand, but it's not sharp enough. Most accidents where you get cut with a knife are from a dull knife, not a sharp knife, because you're having to work to cut through it, where a properly sharpened knife slices right through it. So, you know, little things where, you know, put it in, get the knife going, and then make adjustments to what you're doing with your hands. Don't, you know, put your hands in the way of a knife. That's how you get cut. And I don't really want to go to the hospital, especially when everybody right now is flooding hospitals with respiratory illnesses and getting tested over and over and over, and I don't really want to deal with that. I want to avoid hospitals at all costs. So, knife safety. But like I said, this one actually needs to be a little sharper. But that's a lot. It's a bowl of steaks.
Look at that bowl of meaty goodness. Makes me very happy.
And it would be fair to say that we are not strict, especially me, strict in the carnivore diet style. We still we still try to eat a lot of a meat-heavy diet. And it's things like this that allow us to do that. We get a lot of bacon. But our pigs aren't ready for butchering yet. Obviously, they're still in the backyard. So we want bacon, we got to go buy it. And buying the pork belly and smoking it saves us a lot of money and allows us to eat bacon pretty much anytime we want. You know, that's nice. Allowing this gives us a lot of steaks that will see us through. We do pork steaks. And that's been a big thing for us. We've been able to get well-priced pork steaks and have them be wonderful, and you know it's not as expensive as if we were eating, of course I say we're eating ribeye at $4.99 a pound, and they're good.
Yes, Sam's Club, and I'm sure you can probably find this cut elsewhere. It's a cheaper cut of meat, but it's delicious. Is the bone-in pork shoulder blade steak. And our Sam's Club has them for $1.38 a pound, I believe it is. And they are at least as big as the steaks. They're not as thick. They're about maybe a half-inch thick. But yeah, so I can get 5 to 6 huge ones in a Sam's Club package for $7 to $8. So I'll have Joe pull out the steaks and we'll see how many we got before we end this.
And once again, I just want to go over the fact that I'm sure a butcher would cut these much better. They'd be much sharper, cleaner. They would also charge me a lot more for them. So that's kind of important to me, as you recognize that you too can cut steaks. They may not look the greatest, but they'll taste great. And in the end, vanity should always be secondary to function. So we're going to do a steak count. 1. And this one I could probably cut in half, but I'm not going to. So 2, 3, and I did. These are kind of ugly cut. The previous ones we did a little better. 5, 6, and you'll see too, these are good size, thick steaks. And we're not talking about, I could put my meat slicer out and actually probably cut much finer cuts. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 steaks, and that was, as you guys saw in the labeling, of $67 for 17 ribeye steaks.
Beautiful.
Once again, they aren't pretty, but they're tasty. So that is wonderful stuff for us. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to share this video with all your carnivore friends. And like I said, the secret is we have a local IGA that does a huge meat sale about once every quarter. So you want to go look, reach out, look out for those smaller local places, and find out if they do meat sales and just buy in bulk. We've got a couple freezers that we freeze, that we put our chickens in and our turkeys and everything when we butchered them, which we're doing a butchering this weekend. So for us to put a ribeye, whole ribeye, into the freezer, that's a good investment. So be prepared.
And even if there's not a local meat sale, just buying your meat in the large hunk that has not been cut down by a butcher saves you a lot of money just by breaking it down yourself. So it's still an option, even if you don't get it on a huge sale. It's still going to be cheaper than buying it broke down.
So thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night. Enjoy our video, like and say good things about us, and enjoy your meat eating.